Okay, here's another one of my podcasts with an expert deal maker. You're going to hear how to revive pending deals that are troubled, deals that are worth making. It's no fun when deals fall through, and you could leave a lot of money on the table, especially for deals that should complete but don't, because of what seem to be irreconcilable differences between the buyers and sellers of small and mid-sized businesses. In this podcast, you're going to hear about revival, getting back on track, deals that should occur. I'm Ted Leverette, the original business buyer advocate. For more than 30 years, I've been helping people find and buy the right businesses the right way. I'm not a business broker. I don't sell businesses. You're going to hear Hal Feder of Murphy Business Sales. He'll tell us how he revived troubled deals, deals that were worth doing. And you're going to hear more about him later. So Hal, what was the problem and how did you help the parties get back onto the same page?
Another kind of often overlooked one is your landlord and your leases don't assign or they don't assume. So a lot of brokers will wait to the end, figuring that this is kind of the one that comes at the end. I don't subscribe to that philosophy. In fact, I often treat the landlords as a key stakeholder. Now, of course, this requires getting a confidentiality agreement up front. A lot of sellers and buyers say, oh, no, we can't tell the landlord. The landlord can't know this. Well, why not? They're a key enabler to the deal. You got to bring in the landlord. You got to try to understand the landlord's goal. Is it money? Is it time? Is it the business category? In other words, they got a pizza store and they got a fitness center and they've got a hair salon, and they want the diversity of a business category in their shopping center. What is it about the landlord that they're concerned about? And so you try to bring them in as a stakeholder so they don't blow up your deal. Okay, you got everything going and you wait, and then the landlord blows up the deal because he's not going to assign the deal or assume the deal. So you got to treat the landlord with a little respect, avoid surprises, and you really want that landlord to have confidence in the new buyer. So you want to introduce him to the new buyer. You're demonstrating your operational and financial capacity to run that business. And I know that when a landlord has confidence in a new buyer, that will make for a smoother transition and probably a smoother negotiation on that lease assumption. At the end of the day, if you can't get together, have a plan B. There's nothing in writing that says that business has got to stay there. So if you can't get together, find out another alternative site, get creative. And if you throw the landlord a bone, here's another trick. You're at a stalemate with the landlord and he's not budging, but you know that the buyer is going to be doing some things to the building. They're going to be investing in some leasehold improvement. So you say to the landlord, we're going to put another $20,000 into property here. So let's find a way to work together, because at the end of the day, when this lease is over, you're going to have a property that's worth more now than it was when I came in. So the landlord lease improvement bone is a nice bone to throw in there. All deals have risk. Managing that risk between a buyer and a seller is pretty critical. I like to do that by getting all of the stakeholders identified up front, buyers and sellers. There could be multiple buyers and there could be multiple sellers, all right? Get all the cards on the table. And I also want to know up front, in terms of mitigating risk, who's advising the seller? Is it Ted? Is it the attorney? Is it the CPA? It's all of them, okay? So I look at the deal as, I got to sell Ted, I got to sell the attorney, I got to sell the CPA. I also point out to the seller, look, you're the owner, you're the boss, okay? They all work for you, okay? So there's a time and a place. The lawyer is supposed to look at the legal aspects of the deal. The CPA is supposed to look at the numbers and financials part of the deal. And Ted's going to be the buyer advocate that's overlooking the buyer's shoulder throughout the deal. So know which roles each of those play and make sure they stay in their lane. One thing that I think is also a deal killer is not properly managing the risk with the various stakeholders.
Okay, Hal. What about surprises in due diligence? That's the other place where I see things going south.
Look, due diligence is really important part of the sale. But it's a two-way street. People think of due diligence as, oh, okay, the buyer is going to really find out a lot about the business. And that is true. But the seller is going to also find out a lot about the buyer in due diligence. So first of all, recognize it's a two-way street and be free and transparent with the information request. I like to get a list up front with as much as possible so that I don't have to keep going back and forth, because those little one-off requests, those little email requests here, oh, can you send me this? Can you send me this? What I like to do is sit down with my buyer and get the full list, or as much as I can. There'll always be stuff that comes up. Heck, he's going to find out stuff that promotes questions about other stuff. We understand that, but get it 80% down on the list. And then I can go to my seller and say, hey, we're going to need this stuff. Let me help you compile it, assemble it. And some stuff missing, I'll go out and run that down. But you try to smooth out the edges and the obstacles in advance of them occurring. One thing that my sellers probably don't like this, but I think it's really eye-opening. I encourage the buyers to mystery shop the business. Again, you got to be careful. You don't want to destroy the confidentiality, especially at this point of the sale. You got a purchase contract here. You got good karma going. There's good information. And you get a good look at the business in a very confidential way, but in a very important way. You also want to look out for, you often ignore the health of the suppliers that are feeding this business. You want to look into that. You want to look into the competition, see what the competition is doing. Is there a change in the competitive nature that's going to impact the value of this business? Plus or minus. Maybe a key competitor just went out, and there's a growth opportunity to pick up that part of the business. Could be that technology's come in and there's a new competitor that, hey, things are going to get tougher than they've been. So we need to make sure that we've adjusted the business value for a higher level of competition. You want to look at the social brand equity, the social media. What are the reviews? What are the Google responses? If you see a lot of unanswered sales complaints on a business's website, then you've got some opportunity areas. Let's see, tax returns. There's nothing wrong with the part of the P&L, but the bank's going to look at the tax returns. So if you've got a disconnect between the P&L and the tax returns, get the tax returns. Really don't wait to due diligence to get the tax return. I always do my cash flow analysis up front based on the tax returns. When a buyer says, hey, can you send me the tax returns? I'll send them the tax returns at the right place in the deal. It's not the second thing I do. But I'll say to them, look, every piece of data that you've got, it's not the actual tax return, but the numbers come from the tax returns. That's a good way to avoid a due diligence train wreck. Because take it from me, I used to do P&L add backs, and when it's hard to explain when you get to the 11th hour in a deal why P&L doesn't match the tax return. And you can get away with a lot of less stress using that tax return to begin with.
Okay, Hal Feder, what's the quick and easy way for people to get in touch with you?
Probably the quickest way. I'm very active on LinkedIn, so check my LinkedIn profile.
Okay, here are two more resources that are helping people wanting to buy a business. First, my book for searchers, How to Prepare Yourself and Find the Right Business to Buy. And when you've found that business, my other book, How to Buy the Right Business the Right Way. You can get them at my website, partneroncall.com. I'm Ted Leverette, the business buyer advocate with Partner On Call Network.